Hi, everybody. Welcome once again to Wisconsin Icons. My name is Bob Dolan. It's great to have you with me. My title sponsor, as always, is Pasternak and Zergabel, award-winning injury attorneys. And you can find their information at www.injurywisconsin.com. The icon in this episode is Bonnie Blair. Bonnie Blair, the speed skater. She was a member of 4 U.S. Olympic teams. She won 5 gold medals, and she won 1 bronze medal. And she came about the length of a skate, literally, from another bronze medal in her final Olympic Games. Now, a couple of things about this particular interview. I recorded with Bonnie several years ago. It was for a program on EWTN, that's the Worldwide Catholic Network, and it was a series I did called Fields of Faith, where I traveled the country and talked to some great athletes, obviously about their career and their achievements, but also about their faith. And so that's where I met with Bonnie. The other thing you'll notice about this interview, again, taped years ago, was I had hair. Try to overlook that if you can. I met with Bonnie, and Bonnie is so engaging and so genuine and so matter of fact about her incredible achievements in the Olympic Games. I think you'll notice that too. And I met with Bonnie at the Pettit Ice Center in Milwaukee, which was and still is one of the training homes for the U.S. Olympic speed skating team.
Bonnie Blair, it's a pleasure to be with you today, and I really appreciate your time here on Fields and Faith. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We are in the Pettit Center in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I would think, Bonnie, that this is kind of like, or at least used to be, a home away for,
from
yeah,
home.
I mean, how many hours? Can you imagine how much time you spend in this place?
Yeah, and probably actually more hours before we actually had a roof. So definitely glad we have the roof now for the facility and the skaters of today. But then I'm actually still here on the hockey rinks watching my son play hockey. So even though it's not my home away from home every day, it's still pretty close to probably 4 to 5 days a week.
But it used to be. In your Olympic training days, is it even possible for people like me to comprehend how much time you people spend at a place like this?
Pretty much when we were on the ice and when they have the 400-meter track down, if we weren't skating twice a day, we were for sure skating at least once a day with another workout. So, we're pretty much here every single day. And races on the weekends, of course, then if it took us away internationally for competitions, but if we were in town and we were training, this is where we were.
And this is your teenage years, these are your early 20 years. Was there ever a day or 2 or 3 where you're walking into the Pettit Center thinking, this can't be worth it? Again, another day, training day.
Yeah,
how many days like that do you have?
Right. I guess not too many.
No?
And yes, you do go through that. However, I loved what I did, and I loved the people that I was with, and you just find different ways to set new goals for yourself every single day so that when you came in, it was a new day. It was something different. And to me, trying to beat that clock at the end of the straightaway was really what it was all about.
You mentioned earlier that now we're inside a beautiful indoor facility, but it wasn't always that way. You used to have to train and U.S. team trials outside, on the old outdoor rink.
And given the weather we've had this past winter, some of that 40-degree below weather was nothing, because I remember twice we raced when it was 80 below wind chill.
Oh my gosh.
So the doctors and stuff that were affiliated with the sport said we shouldn't race, but the officials said, let's go.
Sure.
So we raced, and it was more or less you did a hockey stop when the race was over. Someone would throw a blanket on you and you'd run inside. Luckily, I skated the sprint races. I was done fast.
Yeah. You were born in upstate New York?
Cornwall, New York.
Okay, but most of your childhood was in Illinois.
Yeah, Champaign, Illinois is
Okay.
basically where I grew up. We moved to Champaign about 3 months after I was born, so I really don't
Yeah.
know too much about Cornwall.
Your first pair of skates, were they speed skates or figure skates?
Figure
They were
skates.
figure skates.
And of course, I don't remember, but the stories I've been told is they were too big for me, so they just left my shoes on and put my feet inside the skates that way.
Okay, then when did the speed skating start?
Well, and then, you know, I want to say I remember maybe even racing on some hockey skates. You know, I'm not sure maybe when they had the speed skates small enough for me to be in, but I was on skates 2 or a little bit before, probably the year I turned 2, because my birthday's in March, and but I was racing by the age of 4.
When was it that you or someone first said, you know, I think Bonnie's got something here. I think Bonnie can be a champ. When did that first hit you?
You know, it might have hit some others really before it hit me, but probably in my early teens. And then kind of like my mid to late teens was when I was like, well, you know, maybe I could go to the Olympics. However, at that point, it was only like the long track of what you see when you're skating against the clock. The short track, which is really how I grew up in the sport, wasn't in the Olympics back then. So, you know, when people thought, oh, you could be in the Olympics, I thought, well, I don't even skate long track. So, you know, it took a while before I actually started doing the long track races, then gradually having success, and then realizing, maybe I could go to the Olympics. And then after that, it was, well, now maybe I could win an Olympic medal. So they were all gradual steps, and things came to me on a gradual basis, which I think was good because then it was never too much too soon, and probably one of the reasons why I stayed in the sport as long as I did.
You spanned 4 Olympic Games, which that's unheard of almost.
Yeah.
Now there was they went to the 2 and 2 for a while, so that helped.
Right.
That helped you have a longer career.
Yeah. After the 92 games is when they decided to stagger the Olympics, winter, summer, every 2 years. So us being the first stagger, being the Winter Games, I went from the 92 games to 94. So, you know, if after the 92 games I would have thought, oh, am I going to go all the way to 96? You know, 4 more years is a long way, but 2 years, you know, it's kind of like by the time the end of the season rolls around, you feel like, well, it's really less than 2 years now. It was definitely doable. However, then I did stay in it one more year and skated till 1995 because our World Championships, which is really the biggest competition on a non-Olympic year, was right here at the Pettit Center. And I knew I wouldn't be comfortable sitting in the stands watching the biggest competition that comes to what is my hometown. So I knew I had to be out there and I had to race, and it was a special way to end that season skating here in front of what was 300 members of the Blair Bunch.
Let's talk about your Olympic experience. Your first Olympic Games was Sarajevo. Was 84, is that right?
84.
And so you're how old? 19,
I'm
20?
like, 19.
Okay. Your expectations that first time around, what were they?
You know, I think when I look back to 84 and what I was going through at that time, I was just ecstatic to be on the Olympic team. And and I was only going to be taking part in the 500 meters. That was all that I qualified for. But I thought if I could just be close to the top 10, that would be awesome. And I wound up being 8th in the 500. And if they would have showed my race, because, you know, typically they only show who medals, you probably would have thought I won, because I think my arms went up in the air and I was like yelling and screaming and really excited, because that really surpassed what I had anticipated for myself.
So your first gold was the next time around, which was Calgary?
Which was Calgary.
And was that the 500 meter?
And that was the 500 meters. And, you know, I had a great rivalry with Krista Rothenberger. And we had kind of gone back and forth that season, the season before. You know, probably for the most part, I won more of the 500s than she did, but I knew that she could beat me. And in the 500 in Calgary, she skated before I did and set a world record. So not only now, in order to win a gold medal and to beat her, I have to go set a world record, go faster than I ever have in my entire life, and I was able to do that. And yeah, I think part of what helped me was earlier in that week, I skated a 1 lap timed excursion, if you want to call it that I knew was fast enough to go a world record. So kind of going to the starting line, I had a world record in my sight. And to me, it was always about the clock at the end of the straightaway anyway. I mean, I knew...
You're always looking at it?
I'm not looking
time
at
around,
it,
but you know?
no, but knowing that's my main competitor.
Okay.
Even though Krista had done what she had done, I know really in order to win, I've got to beat myself. And the only way to beat myself is to beat that clock at the end of the straightaway.
5 golds, 1 bronze, 4 Olympic Games. Some 20 years later, is there an event or two that still kind of tugs at you, still kind of hits you in the heart?
You know, I think probably in Calgary and winning the 500 meters, I think
The first one.
being able to do something for the very first time has an unbelievable power and emotion behind it that's hard to capture again. And that's not to say that my other wins weren't thrilling and exciting. They were all in their own individual way, but that first time has an unbelievable, powerful impact behind it, and that was pretty special. And then, you know, probably the last gold medal in Lillehammer for the 1,000 meters. I think, you know, standing up on the podium and hearing the national anthem, thinking, you know, I'll probably never hear this the way it's being played again right now. And that was almost sad in a very happy moment, if you want to say that.
I've heard you in the past, Bonnie, talk about being on the podium the first time and looking around, looking for your family members. And you finally saw them in a place where they weren't supposed to be.
Yes.
It snuck in somehow.
Yes, they the seats that they had during my 500 meters were not right in front of the awards ceremony.
Sure.
So somehow they meandered themselves, but in all different places. And you know, I clearly remember about to step up on the podium and, you know, finding my sister Angela, and, you know, she's got tears in her eyes. And my sister Susie, just a big, huge grin on her face. I saw my brother Rob high-fiving his best friend. My sister Mary, who was always the loud and boisterous one, just yelling, screaming, carrying on, going absolutely nuts. And then finding my mom, and she still looked scared to death as if I was still racing.
Yeah.
And if I had to say, what does it feel like to win an Olympic medal? You know, that's what it was. All those different emotions all wrapped into one. And then to be able to look at my family and see that, you know, that's really what it was all about.
I would think, what do I know? I've never been close to a podium in my life, but I would think that the moment you realize you won a gold, you're still,
well,
yes,
but
that emotion would be different than standing on the podium,
very
right?
different. And you know, the funny thing too with that is when you go back and watch it on TV, people see the clock before I do. So the emotion of really what people see on TV and in the stands, they almost get it before I do.
Okay.
You know, it's almost kind of like it's a delayed reaction. And for me, it's kind of funny to go back and see that, and it's like, well, they kind of knew I won before I did. But seeing that clock, because like I said, that's my competitor. Seeing that clock, seeing those numbers, knowing I had gone faster than I ever had, it was a world record, and that I had won, because I knew there wasn't anybody coming behind me that could beat my time. That was a very powerful moment.
I love a story you tell because I think it sums up your attitude on life, not just on skating, about a race you did not win.
Yeah, you know, when I look back to the Lillehammer Olympics, and, you know, I came away from there with my 4th and 5th Olympic gold medal. But if I have to look at the races I skated there and what was my best race came in the 1500. And in that race, I got 4th, and I just missed a bronze medal by 2/100ths of a second. So that's, you know, probably about that far and takes about that long. And, you know, yes, it was just missing a medal, But to me, it was a personal best. It was the fastest I had gone in that race or in any race in over 6 years. And so, you know, like I said, to me, it always came back to the clock and battling the clock and doing the best that I could do. And I did the absolute best I could. It was an American record. It was the fastest I had ever gone. And you know, I know people were disappointed for me for placing fourth, but I mean, I was on top of the world. And yes, I would have been higher on top of the world had I received a bronze. But I couldn't be disappointed with the results that I achieved in that race, because in reality, that was my best race at the Olympics.
And is that the attitude you have with you in all phases of life? Do the best you can do?
Yeah, you know, I think that's what it really is all about. You know, I focused on the clock, and to me, that was always trying to achieve personal best. So to me, no matter what you're doing in life, you strive to be the best day in and day out. Whatever it is that we do in our life, you know, small and or big.
I think, this is just my opinion, feel free to disagree.
Okay.
You're humble, so you probably will. I think Dan Jansen, Bonnie Blair, Eric Heiden, Sheila Young, who came a little bit before you, I think you guys put speed skating on the map in the United States. I know in other countries, especially like in the Dutch countries, it's huge, I know that. But here in the US, I think you guys put it on the radar for most of us. And now in the Olympics, speed skating is must-see TV. We all have to watch. Do you agree with that that was sort of the golden era?
Yeah, you know, and I definitely Eric Heiden really had a big, you know, him winning 5 gold medals in 1 week.
At different events, 5 different events.
Yeah, very
Remarkable.
different events. It took me, you know, 3 Olympics to do mine. So maybe because I kept what-ifing myself to death, and maybe because people keep seeing Bonnie Blair, they kept seeing Dan Jansen strive to get what, you know, seemed to elude him. Kind of kept us in the forefront of a lot of Americans for people to cheer for us. And, you know, it was great that we were able to bring skating up to another level. You know, now on the hockey rinks or short track ice, we had Apollo Anton Ono do that. And that's one of the hottest tickets to get at the Olympics is short track. And I skated short track. Short track is a blast to skate. But for somebody who's never seen it in person or whatever, they get there and they're like, when can we come watch this again? It's that exciting. And it's not like roller derby, because if you hit somebody too much, you're gonna be disqualified. So that's kind of one of my pet peeves. Don't compare it to roller derby. It's like NASCAR on ice or a track meet on ice. A lot of fun, and you see who wins. Where in our race, you have to always wait for the clock to figure out who wins and the scoreboard to see where people are. But in short track, they cross the line, and given there's no penalties, that's who wins.
Where are your medals? 5 golds and 1 bronze. Where are they?
Yeah, my medals, I was lucky enough to have somebody make me an awesome piece of furniture. It's an Olympic coffee table, and it's in the shape of Olympic rings. And that's where I have my medals, some of my kids' mementos, as well as my husband took part in 4 Olympic Games as well. So it sits in our living room, and it's something we can look at every day and have people come in and enjoy when they come to the house. My son had a couple of his hockey buddies over the other day, and they put all 6 medals on, and we took pictures, and then they go to Instagram, you know? So they're out there for everybody.
They were my medals. I'd wear them around my neck all the time, you know, going to the grocery store. Who's that guy with the 5 gold medals around?
Right.
That's probably the number 1 question you get. Where are the medals?
Yeah,
is that what people always want to know? Because we all have an idea what we would do if we had a gold medal.
Right. Where are they?
Yeah. Good. Let me ask you about one other thing, then we'll move on to Faith. When I was a kid, you know, when a teenager, and I'm a little older than you, I got Sports Illustrated. And the issue I always looked forward to was the end of the year, because they would announce Sportsman or Sportswoman of the Year. And at that time, I don't know if it's still the case today, at that time that was a big deal. You know, there's always a lot of mystery surrounding who's it going to be, a lot of anxiety, and always a big press conference, big announcement. And 1994, it was you. So I'm not to say that that's right up there with the gold medals, I'm sure it isn't, but that's a pretty good one.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yes. You know, and that was probably the only magazine that really consistently came to our house that my dad read cover to cover. And I remember going to New York and going to Sports Illustrated, but thinking I was just going there thanking the gentleman that helped me get into the weight room for training that I needed to do while I was in New York for something else. And you know, thinking, oh yeah, Sports Person of the Year is going to be, and I'm thinking Nick Faldo, you know. That was my thought that year.
So the winners don't even know that it's going to.
Oh no!
You don't.
And I'm sitting in his office, and that's when they shared with me that I was going to be Sportswoman of the Year, along with another co-skater, Johan Olaf Koss from Norway. And you know, I read, sure it's not Nick Faldo? I mean, that was like my thought.
I voted for Nick Faldo. Yeah.
So yeah, just. You know, one of those amazing accolades that come from doing something that I thoroughly loved and enjoyed and was lucky to have success with it. And, you know, I cherish that.
Yeah.
It's something that's very special. And, you know, given that my dad had passed away quite a few years before, I knew he was looking down on me in that moment and thinking, that's pretty cool.
You still have the magazine somewhere?
Oh yeah,
I'm
it's
sure
framed. It's yeah.
Bonnie, you're an absolute delight. You really are. I've enjoyed our time together, and I greatly appreciate your time with us today.
All right.
Okay, thank you. Good luck to you down the road.
Okay, thank you.
I tell you, I've been very lucky in my career to meet many Hall of Fame athletes. And most of them are good people. Most of them are very nice and down to earth. Not all, but most. But Bonnie Blair is one of my favorites because she's just so humble. She's so sincere. She's so real, and just so matter of fact about all that she achieved. 5 golds and a bronze. And I thank Bonnie Blair very much for the time with me on Fields and Faith back a few years ago, and now again here on Wisconsin Icons. I have a lot of thank yous for this particular episode. First of all, the EWTN based in Birmingham, Alabama, to John Elson and Doug Keck in particular for granting me permission to rerun that Fields of Faith interview with Bonnie. Thanks to Elevate Media and La Crosse for their great assistance with all of my productions here on Wisconsin Icons. Thank you, of course, to my title sponsor, Pasternak and Zergabel, award-winning injury attorneys based in Brookfield, Wisconsin. Their website is www.injurywisconsin.com. And as always, most importantly, my great gratitude to all of you for watching and listening on Wisconsin Icons, and we will talk again very soon.